Todd, Amy, Daryl, I welcome all of you to SuperChat. Todd, I'd like to begin by mentioning the upcoming levy. It is highly valuable to Northwest Local District, and it's the partnership, really, that you have with the community that is at the heart of this. Frankly, it is vital to the health of your operations and the effectiveness of the district, I might add. Can you describe the importance that all of your stakeholders so they understand the rationale and need for this upcoming levy?
It's very important for us. With the funding system in the state of Ohio, taxpayers are held accountable to pay for education in every school district. We have a ballot on this November. Our partnership with our community is vital. It is important that all of our stakeholders understand the rationale and need for the levy. It's going to be 7.5 mills that will generate $11 million for our operating budget. So it's very big.
Amy, let me ask you, hopefully it is a remote chance. You certainly hope so. But if this upcoming levy were to fail, what kind of negative impact would that have on your district, your community, your staff and students? I mean, can you describe kind of the pulse of things there in such a scenario?
Well, failure of the levy would have a profound impact on our district, for our community, our staff, and our students. Passing the levy is imperative. Our district cannot afford a failing levy. Our staff cannot afford a failing levy. Our community cannot afford a failing levy. And most importantly, our students cannot afford a failing levy. We're currently in an $8.5 million spending deficit, and the deficit has grown since last year, which was approximately $7 million. So things have significantly changed and will continue to grow in a deficit spending.
Well, Todd, as Amy mentioned, you currently have this $8.5 million spending deficit. That's some real money. And I really want to emphasize with our listeners that this has all been caused by the changes the state has made in the way that education is funded. But getting back to this levy, the failure of this would surely result in some spending cuts. Specifically, what would have to be cut or eliminated?
Yeah, when you're looking at $8.5 million spending deficit, there's a lot that has to be reduced. So if the levy doesn't pass, we've been spending the last 2 or 3 board meetings talking about the impacts. They can impact things such as curricular offerings, increased class sizes, reductions in art, music, physical education, reduction in our counselors, our dean of students, and a variety of rigorous course offerings such as gifted, advanced placement classes, college credit plus courses, and extracurriculars such as music and all athletic programs. All of it could be impacted. And I'd like to go back to your comment that the state has affected why we need a levy. They continually reduce funding. We lost tangible personal property tax, which was about $4.3 million. And that's where we used to get taxes paid on inventory that was stored in businesses in our district. We no longer get that. We lost another $1 million in funding for transportation. We have had the cost of living, inflation go up every year, yet the state doesn't match that cost of living. Instead of giving the 3%, it's a 0.03 increase sometimes. And we're flat funded. So whether our enrollment goes up or down, we stay the same for our funding. So a lot of things are important here. It's our job to prepare our students for the next steps in life, to give them what they need academically, services that will prepare them for tomorrow. And our kids deserve more in a basic education. And what folks have to realize is that the state of Ohio only funds a basic education, and that does not include any of the things I listed earlier.
Yeah, and those things that you mentioned are really what make the school district quality at your core. It would be a shame to see those things not there. Well, let me transition a little bit here because I was hoping you might be able to answer this question for me. For the benefit of our listeners, what are the particulars, the millage, and how it all ties into your operating budget?
The millage of the levy is 7.5 mils. It would generate $11 million for our operating budget. So that would be able to get us even with what the deficit spending currently is. The bigger picture is if it doesn't pass in November, then we would need more money, because the way levies work is if it passes in November of 2019, we don't get the funding till 2020. If it does not pass in November and we move to March of 2020, then we would not get the funding to that next year. So it would be disastrous not to pass it in November, because we would have to come back at a higher millage and try to generate more money for our operating budget.
Well, it is kind of hard to picture that scenario because this is pretty substantial. At your Board of Education level, can you share a little bit with our listeners some of the discussions that have been going on related to the district and everything you're dealing with on this?
Yeah, we started a while back. We had open community forums where community members could come to our meetings, sit with our board members out in the audience, and talk about what the possible millage might be and what we need to do in order to get on track so we're no longer in a spending deficit. From there, a list of reductions were generated from listening to our staff, our administration, and putting that list together and trying to do our best not to harm kids. But when you're looking at $8.5 million in reductions, whatever you reduce is going to affect kids. So it's important to remember, if the levy passes, what I've listed will not be eliminated, but it involves the work to get the word out from all our stakeholders, and that includes all our administrators and staff members. We have to work together on this with our Board of Education.
Yeah, surely. Well, Daryl, let me change topics and turn to you. Northwest Local Schools has rolled out a strategic plan, a critically important move, I might add. This is pretty foundational in its importance at an organizational level, but can you describe the plan specifically? Give us some of the highlights, and what are some of the key influences or what-if assumptions that went into creating and would direct the application and use of such a plan?
Sure. We're really excited to roll out the strategic plan because it is the foundation of our district and how we're going to grow and operate in the years to come. It's really our vision that we created over the course of a year with a lot of input from community and teachers and staff and administrators alike coming together to create what this vision is for tomorrow for our district. And we've really tagged that with our hashtag of Go Beyond, because it really is a commitment of what we're doing as a community to go beyond for the kids and community of Northwest. We have 5 areas in the plan that are really driving the work and aligning the resources within the district. And we're focusing on student achievement, diversity and equity, social emotional development, financial stability, and all of that is anchored in a culture of trust. So those 5 things are not independent. They are actually interwoven. We can't really focus on creating high achievement for our kids without making sure we recognize the social emotional development of their needs, financial stability so they have consistency, and understanding and recognizing and celebrating the diversity that we have within the district. And all of that is underpinned by the culture of trust that it takes to get all that work done.
You know, I have spoken with many schools over the years, and the one thing that I would say about a good, effective strategic plan, and Todd and I have spoken about this on previous episodes, but a good strategic plan becomes a living and breathing document. It's constantly monitored, constantly followed, and it's not just some document that gets created and gets put on the shelf. And I think it goes without saying, but I guess maybe our listeners may just want to hear that from you, that in fact is the nature of this plan. It's a working document.
It is a working document. It is living and breathing, and it is going to play out in a lot of different ways. All of our 5 pillars that we have will have committees of leadership that include staff and parents and community members who will actually oversee the implementation of that work, lead that work, and have committees around them who are supporting that. So it will continue to evolve over the years of implementation, and the committees and the input from all of our constituents will help guide that work and move us into the direction of the future where our kids get the future that's not yet imagined realized for them.
Well put. Well, I must say this has really been a heavy discussion today, but a critically important discussion without question. Your upcoming levy has much riding on its outcome. I wish you and your entire management team and the best of success with the levy. And I'd like to thank all of you for joining me today and sharing this insight and the details behind it here on SuperChat.
Thanks, Gary. We appreciate the opportunity and always look forward to speaking to you.